Good morning and welcome to another conversation with Mose. And as always, I pray life is treating you well, wherever you are in the world, and that you're one day closer to your dreams, prayers, and hopes coming true. And of course, my podcast wouldn't be a podcast without a poem. And this poem is written by the great Nikki Giovanni. And if you guys aren't familiar with her work, by all means, Google her, Nikki Giovanni. And actually, just a little short story. She is the first poet that I was introduced to as a child. I don't know, I just know the book, but I don't remember the actual time. I just know I became acquainted with this book that I actually found a copy of years later. But she is my favorite poet, my favorite female poet. And this poem is called When I Nap, and it's taken from the book Love Poems by Nikki Giovanni. When I nap. When I nap, usually after 1:30, because the sun comes in my room, then hitting the northeast corner. I lay at the foot of my bed and smell the sweat of your feet in my covers while I dream. And it's so ironic because that poem just kind of my eyes fell on that poem once I opened up the book, trying to find a poem to introduce this podcast episode for today. And it's just very appropriate because I'm learning to rest more when I have time to. I'm making time to rest. Which brings me to my subject matter for today. Doing nothing is something. And I have to say, it wasn't what I was originally going to talk about today. I'm going to save that for another day. But I was resting with my partner and our dog, Langston, who's a toy poodle, which I'm sure I've mentioned to you before. And we were just taking a nap, and he was laying in the bed with us. And it was something amazing about just doing nothing but resting, and we were all just laying there and content with sleep. It's raining outside and it's cold, and it's this time of year. Of course, you're going to expect that kind of stuff. But I guess my point in my spirit, I was speaking to myself in the moment in my head, is that this is something. That doing nothing sometimes is something, which is difficult for me because I pride myself on working all the time. Whether I'm working my job, my 8-hour job, or projects or something I'm working on, I'm always planning out my day, whether it's straightening up my apartment or just keeping busy all the time. And I feel guilty if I'm not working on something, if I'm not trying to make money, or if I'm trying to, make my day, trying to do something to get ahead. And I get filled with anxiety because I'm trying to do something, because I feel like if I don't do nothing, then I feel guilty that I didn't have a productive day. But there's something to be said about resting. Or it doesn't necessarily have to be rest, but sometimes we're just watching a good movie, reading a book, listening to music, and just meditating, relaxing, releasing. Because these last couple weeks have been pretty stressful for various reasons, and I won't get into that. But it's inspired me to just do what I can and then rest. Because I promised myself at the beginning of the year, not so much as a resolution, but that I was going to not be so hard on myself. And I was going to make time to just take it easy, live in the moment, be present. And I feel like I've really accomplished that. But even when I'm by myself, and when I'm not doing anything, learning to just breathe, relax, and And that's something I have to consciously do. I don't do that naturally. Some people can be lazy without even thinking about it, but I have to really work at it. And I have to feel like I did something that day. But what I'm learning to do is not plan out the day. Like there are things that I want to do over the next couple months, but I'm not going to plan it out. I'm not going to be so meticulous that if it don't happen, then I won't get disappointed. I'm going to do the best I can to accomplish my goals, my short-term goals, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it. Like I know I'm planning to join a gym soon. Like I know getting back to the gym is I miss it. Not so much for my physical health, but for my mental health. I miss the atmosphere. I miss working out. I miss sweating. I miss the whole process of it. And I need it. I mean, it really helps me think, relax. You know, it's not a chore to work out for me. And it's something I do by myself. I don't need company. As long as I have my music, I can do it. And I guess I'm saying all that to say that sometimes we have to learn to just let things be. You know, I am a praying brother, but I have to know that God is doing the most on my behalf, even when I'm not doing anything. And I am not going to work myself to death. I'm just not going to do it. And again, I do have a lot of short-term and long-term goals, but I can't keep beating myself up if they don't materialize that day. But I do work hard, and I do pat myself on the back when I'm just not doing anything. And again, that is something. And I think I wish I had known that earlier in my life. You know, we always say that we knew things when we were younger. But again, just laying in the bed and relaxing and napping and rolling over and adjusting your pillow and relaxing your mind is the best thing you can do for yourself sometimes. I mean, most times, because you owe it to yourself. And if you go on vacation or if you know, there's a thing I used to do when I lived in Atlanta. I would rent a room. Sometimes I would rent a room downtown, a hotel room, maybe every few months. And I call it like a staycation. I couldn't afford to go out of town, but I would rent a room, you know, take myself out for a drink, out to dinner, and then I would just go back to the hotel room. And it wasn't anything sexual. It wasn't anything I was doing with anybody. It was something I did for myself. I'm a firm believer in that. If you can't take yourself out of town, then change your environment. Rent a hotel room or bed and breakfast or whatever, and just do nothing. You know, eat breakfast, treat yourself to some good food, and take yourself to the movies. And that's another thing. I know people can't go out by themselves. I've met those people. But I can. I can go to dinner by myself. I can go to the movies by myself. It's not great to travel alone, but I can. It's because there are a lot of things you need to do for yourself, even in a relationship. You have to do the things that make you happy. Spending time with my dog really makes me happy. You know, again, it's something about the love of a pet that really does, if you happen to like animals, it really does change your perspective. And I don't know, I'm in a space now where my peace of mind is everything. And I would do anything to protect my peace of mind. I refuse to stress myself out and get worked up. And when I find myself getting worked up, I have to dial it down purposely, consciously, through prayer, meditation, counting to 10, whatever I need to do. And I am juggling so many things at once. And I'm not going to lie, I get a little depressed when I feel like I'm not moving forward. I'm not progressing. Nothing seems to be happening. I'm on social media. I'm promoting my product and promoting my stuff. But it don't seem to be generating what I want, the income or notoriety or Like, what am I doing all this hard work for if I'm not getting any kind of return? But I got to stop watching the pot, meaning waiting. It's like watching water boil. It's like you're just waiting for something to happen. And that's not good. It's not good for me. And I'm always honest with myself. I want to be wealthy. I want to be successful. I want a house again. I want all those great things that other people want. But I'm not going to lie. The money, money doesn't scare me. Success scares me. And what I mean by that, what it does to people, what it brings out of people. I'm a generous person by nature. I know that I am. And the only issue I've ever had with people is that people have always taken advantage of it. And it's made me very distrusting. But I don't naturally distrust people. But I am a giving person. And I work hard because I want what everybody else wants. I want a nice life. I want to be able to take care of the people I love. And I want to be charitable. I want to, the things that mean something to me. I want to start a men's support group, before I leave this earth. I think black men are in trouble, for lack of, I feel like we're not working together the way we should. I think there's so much division with us. And I don't blame us because I totally understand it. I really do. Because we don't trust each other, and I get that. But I can't do it all in one day. I can't change the world in one day. I'm going to have to be okay with 1 hour at a time, 1 second at a time. Because I really do make myself crazy when I feel like I'm not doing enough. And a friend of mine once told me that you act like you're trying to beat the clock. And I suppose I am. Because I know God can take me at any moment. I could die tomorrow, the next second. And I go to sleep. Did I do enough that day? Did I say something positive to somebody? Did I do something? Because I do think that way. Before I close my eyes, that do the people I love know that I love them? And I know that's kind of crazy, but and then the other thing is I'm a firm believer in making people uncomfortable. And what I mean by that, for example, people always say, when is the best time to say I love you to somebody? And I feel like whenever you feel like saying it. The only difference is don't say it because you need to hear it back. It's like don't give somebody money because you expect them to give you money. If it's not from your heart, then don't do it. But I'm a firm believer in doing what makes you happy. And if making other people happy, then do that. Just don't always expect them to do that. People aren't you. So if you want to be a sweet person and you want to do sweet things, then continue to do those things. It's always nice when it's reciprocated. But I've learned that everybody's not like me. They're not going to do it the way I would do it. Like I like framing my poetry and giving it as gifts. I've given out gifts as my poetry. My poetry is the gift. I'll frame it, I'll put a picture with it. That's just me, doing what Mose considers sweet or thoughtful. And I am that person that goes the extra mile to be thoughtful. And people have taken it for granted. And, I've met those people and I no longer break bread with those people, but I still like being that guy, being sweet and going the extra mile. And when I rest, when I take time to meditate, I can nurture that part of myself and cultivate that part of myself because I still like being the nice guy. Even though sometimes I get pissed and I feel like people are taking me for granted and all that, I do. But I love being this person. I love that I can find joy laying with my dog Langston and my partner, just doing nothing. And I can do it by myself. I don't have to have company. I can just literally lay and be alone. And I'm listening to jazz more in my 50s. I've never listened to jazz this much. I became a Miles Davis fan and John Coltrane and Robert Glasper. I'm really like into my jazz. Something about jazz when I'm driving my car or if I'm cleaning up or cooking, it just relaxes me, especially Miles Davis. I wrote a poem about it, but Miles Davis is a mood to me. I it's something about finding your own joy. That's something that gives you serenity, something that gives you a calmness, a center. Like reading certain books, watching certain movies, give me that. They give me that center, that piece of heaven that I need. And I seek it every day. I do. I really, really do. Like when I do a podcast, I feel like I'm putting seasoning into the universe. I'm salting the soup of the world. I'm adding my 2 cents. And I don't know who's listening. I really don't. I don't know who's listening to my podcast, but I do have numbers that show somebody is listening. And sometimes most times I wish I heard from people to say, "Oh, I like this," or it would be nice to get more commentary from people. But what I'm also learning is I'm happy to be me. And what I mean by that is I meet people that scare me. I really do. People's ignorance, people's level of understanding, people's need to be right, people's need to be important. I don't need to be important. I need to be respected. And again, I want what everybody else wants. I just want a nice life and be able to take care of me and mine. That's it. I don't need 15 cars. I don't need the biggest house. Like my mom always say, I want a house that's paid for. But I don't have, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't have the desire to be the richest person in the world. Because I do feel rich. I really do. I feel rich in spirit with my gifts. I look around and see how gifted I am. And I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I'm saying the things that I've created, the beauty that I'm adding to the world gives me joy. And I hope artists and musicians and singers feel the same way. Poets, writers, we add color to the world in our own way. And it all gets back to resting, napping. It's where you dream, as in the poem. Sometimes my most inspiration comes from my dreams. I can't tell you how many dreams I've had that have made me who I am. And the mountains I've climbed, and because I chose to be still. And that's really it at the end of the day, being still and knowing that God has it. And it's not easy. Believe me when I say it's not easy for me to do those things. But it takes practice. It's just like working a muscle that you don't work until it gets stronger and bigger. And then it becomes natural to do it. I'm not one of those people that needs to be fed all the time either. And I don't have to talk to someone every day. I know that I'm loved. I do. I know the people that love me without, I don't doubt that. They might not agree with everything that I do or how I do it, but I know I'm loved. I don't ever feel like nobody loves me. I'm harder on myself than I am about other people. And I don't blame people for my choices. The only thing I try to do now is get as much knowledge as I can to propel me forward. I'm reading, watching YouTube. I'm trying to do it all, but I'm trying to teach myself. And what I don't know, I just ask questions. I just ask. And I'm looking for the other pieces to my puzzle. I know there's a tribe of people that are waiting for me, and I'm waiting for them. And I won't find them if I'm busy, if I'm running, if I'm trying to keep myself too busy. And the other thing I've learned is we got to stop running from ourselves. Where am I running to? I understand my assignment. I do. And I don't believe in running. I don't think it's necessary. I think you have to go forward. And I can honestly say I don't want to go backwards in my life. There's nothing I miss behind me. Even though I've had struggles in the present, I don't want to go backwards. I have no desire to go backwards, you know. And I'm learning to go with the flow of the day. And again, I'm a control freak over myself, and I'm relinquishing that and throwing my hands up every day and let the day play out. I have my thoughts on what I would like to happen within that day, and I do the best I can to make those things happen. But if they don't, I just throw my hands up. Like I had plans today to do something totally different and decided to go a different direction. And today's going to be a lazy, whimsical day. You know, there's a few things I want to get done, but they may happen, they may not. And I guess the whole point of this podcast is just don't beat yourself up. You know, you work hard, you're putting your work into your quote unquote life bank. You're going to get a return. But it's okay to take a deep breath and say, you know what, today's not the day. If you don't want to answer the phone, if you don't want to respond to a text or email, if you don't want to answer the door, then don't. It's okay. It really, really is. And I know, again, everybody's lives are different, and we all have to go with the flow. And sometimes it's not easy to do, but we have to make time for that. Because your life could change in the blink of an eye. You could be gone in the next second. So what are you putting out into the world? What energy are you putting out? You know, it's just important to me. How am I going to spend my last breath? What am I going to be doing? So I hope you got something from that. You know, a little inspiration, a little food for thought. And of course, my podcast wouldn't be a podcast if I didn't talk about my store. And I really want to reiterate All Things Moetic. My Etsy store is my lifeline. It's where my everything Mo's is there. You know, my goal, of course, is to have more product. I want to sell t-shirts. I want to sell clothes. I want to sell everything. Everything black, everything that's me, everything that represents what I believe in is going to be in that store. So when you're buying something from me, you're buying a piece of me, a piece of my life, a piece of my history, what I'm passionate about. So don't think of it as just you're buying something just to be buying something. You're buying something that represents a part of me. You know, blackness and my intelligence and my creativity. So just keep stopping by. But I also want to reiterate the fact that my stuff makes great gifts. And I'm not just saying that. They do. My gifts are the thoughtful gifts. You know, it's like you go in there, you're going to always have a friend that, like a college roommate or somebody, my stuff is perfect for the dorm room, for that first apartment, that first house. My work is specifically for that. Blessing someone's surroundings. And I've never really put it out there like that, but that's what my stuff is. It is to bless your surroundings, to welcome you into your new home or your sacred space. My stuff is for that sacred space. So when you're going through my store, whether it's now or later, think about the sacred space that you're in and who you're shopping for. And then you'll know this is the piece for you. And lastly, I want to talk about my Black Experience exhibit. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little disappointed right now because I have to keep postponing it. But it will happen. I guarantee it will happen. It's just I'm very meticulous about how I present my stuff. And this is the first time I've ever had an event of this nature, a Black exhibit exhibiting my work. So, but it's important that I do it here in Oklahoma because I don't think, to be honest with you, my type of blackness is being represented here. And it's not from a racial standpoint. It's just I feel the need, the desire, the passion to represent Black culture in this way, to open the door for other authors and writers and creators to walk through some things I haven't seen, some things that I have troubled me, that have inspired me to do this. And I will definitely keep you posted. I am probably going to, no, I am going to put my GoFundMe back up. Actually, it's still up. I just hadn't really gotten back to it. But I do need the funds to help this event come to fruition. And if you guys are willing, I would like your support in helping me with this, make this happen. And I appreciate your support, listening, and purchasing my stuff. And again, I just thank you for being in my life, so to speak. And as always, I pray life is treating you well wherever you are in the world, and that you're one day closer to your dreams and prayers and hopes coming true. Thank you for listening.